Welcome to another Retro Crazy. This time it's not retro. I was sitting the other evening watching some telly and I heard what sounded like a pop followed by a hissing noise. I thought it was one of my daughter's balloons maybe just failing, and I didn't think anything of it until the next day when I went to charge my tablet and everything seemed fine. It went from 0 to 1%, I walked out of the room, I came back 10 minutes later and it was back to 0%, but the charge indicator was still on screen, which is unusual, it should dim. That went from 0 to 1% and then dropped back to 0, and then the screen faded and then it came back on and repeated. So I knew something was wrong. Luckily I had a spare backup 4-port USB charger which I plugged in and checked and everything was fine. It started charging normally. So I knew the failure was on this charger. I picked it up, I looked at it and I realised there were no screws to hold it together. So in the good old tradition Scottish brute force and ignorance fashion, I twisted and it came and just popped apart quite easily, which is quite surprising if you consider this is designed to fit in the mains. And you can see the circuit board inside. But more importantly, you may note straight away that there is an issue. This capacitor is supposed to be the same thickness as this one, and it obviously isn't. It's also swollen and popped up off of the base. It's also got the lovely crusty residue. But when I checked and looked at these capacitors, this one is bulged, this one is also bulged. These are fine, but the output side, all three capacitors are failing. In fact, that one is the best of the three, because if you see, that's still covering the base. This one started to lift off. You can actually see the black on the underside, which you certainly should not be able to see. So this has failed. So I'll pause a second, set it up, and we will check the output and see exactly what's going on. As you can see, this particular one is the working one. It's showing me it's giving 5 volts out at just about 600 milliamps, and it's currently powering my tablet, which I'm using as my monitor. However, let's see what this one does. I am going to pause the video, switch off all the power so I can swap this over safely. Don't do what I do, but follow the basic safety precautions. Make sure everything is dead before you work on any form of electronics, and never have something like this open when you are working with mains voltage. It's not big and it's not clever. I am now going to power on this broken one and just let you see exactly what happens. So again, it's showing it's up to just over 5 volts. It is currently connected into my tablet and it's giving nothing. Originally it was giving a little bit. I'll just confirm this is the broken one. You can see that coming apart there. I'm now going to power everything down and discharge it before I do anything, so I'll be back in a second. This is a cheap tester that I got off eBay. I'll let you see that. It's got two outputs, one on that side and one on the other, and it'll just allow you to see the voltage and the current being drawn. Quite handy. So 3 capacitors to replace. Looking very sorry for themselves. I will also swap out the ones in the other unit. These are cheap, no name, unbranded. I have no idea who makes those. I have, however, found that Chinese capacitors in the past have not been of the best quality. So these are showing as 1000 UF and 10 volts. 1000 UF, 10 volts. I did a quick search on eBay and came up with a nice pack of Panasonic replacements. And they are also 1000 UF, 10 volts. Pop one out. Try and pull it by the legs, don't just pull it from the cap. The last thing you want to do is rip the cap off. Oh, good stick. And you'll see they are fractionally taller, but the diameter is the same. So that's what we're going to replace them with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's quickly pop these off and see if they have any markings. In fact, there's a brand, Fencon. Not sure I would trust it. So I'm having my soldering iron switched on at 350, and I will be using some air extraction plus some flux. I have advised in the past this is not the ideal method for applying flux. It's just a method I happen to like because I can target quite nicely using these. I'm going to take this one first from over here. And we'll see what we get. Not particularly wanting to come off very easily, so I'll add some fresh to help it. Now I've got the worst of it off, hopefully I should be able to heat it and just pull down on the cap. I should feel it move. Which I did. I'm hoping I can do this without the can of the cap coming off, obviously. And there it goes. Just clean up the holes, or try to. And one very poorly capacitor. You can see quite clearly the plug of the capacitor is being blown out. The pressure in there, the gases are, or the liquid is gassing, effectively pushing the can off of the wrap of the capacitor. There is a negative marking on it, which is good, and clear negative marking on the circuit board. I'll try and get that so you can see it a bit clearer. So to replace, you take your new capacitor, simply pop it into place. Quite a nice snug fit, so I don't think I'm going to need anything else. Add a little bit of flux just to aid the flow, and then resolder. If you've done it properly, you should have a very nice shiny solder joint. I will now just clip the legs. And I can move on to the next two. I'll just fast forward through this, because I'm sure you don't want to see me recapping and doing exactly the same thing for all three. I've paused here a second. The flux has blocked the soldering iron, the solder sucker. So I'm just going to give everything a quick once over and ensure that it is clear. You can see quite clearly that that is fairly well blocked. Now that that's working again, I'll continue cleaning this up. That's them all clear now. Because it's obviously leaked some of its contents, I am going to give it a clean up, 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. This will not affect any of the other circuitry. However, I would say that heatsink is quite loose. I'll maybe give that a nip up. Much nicer. There we go. So, good hint to China. Make sure you tighten all the screws before you put the compound on that's supposed to stop the screw coming out. So 2 more capacitors to fit, and then we are done. So again, I'll fast forward through this bit. This is actually the next day after going to edit the videos. It turns out that this portion of the video for some reason did not record. So luckily I had not rebuilt this particular module that I've been working on. However, you can now see it's fully recapped. It's all been cleaned up. It's all using the Panasonic caps, with the exception of this tiny little one that I spotted, which is by the same manufacturer. This is on the input stage. It seems to be fine. However, I'll keep my eye on it. It is 10 UF and 50, 60 volts, 50 volts. So I need to just keep my eye on that one. I took the precautionary measure of opening the other brand new one that I'd only had in 4 or 5 days, and the caps had already started to fail, which is not good. So they've been replaced as well, and it's now absolutely fine. So let's find out what's going on. Did we make a fix or not? We have it ready, plugged in, and USB tester. I will put some weight behind this just to hold it in place. because I don't fancy being electrocuted. Showing steady voltage. This is connected up to my monitor, so let's find out what happens this time when I plug it in. And straight up to exactly where it should be, which is the half amp. Excellent. It's fixed. It's done. The replacement is done as well. I did check the pricing. These caps, I bought 2 sets because it's 3 per unit and they come in 5s. And it cost about 36.3 pence, including postage per cap. So for the 6 caps, I've repaired this for just over £1, as opposed to going out and spending £10–15 on a replacement decent quality one. And it's something you can do at home. A basic soldering iron and a little bit of time and effort. So don't go out spending lots of money. If it's already broken, as I've said before, you know, why not give it a go? You've got nothing to lose. So thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, and see you in the next video.